Are you struggling with loneliness? Feeling depressed? Are you searching for a purpose to live? Are you ready to tap into your inner greatness? Ready to soar to your full potential? Come and be inspired. Join me, Dr. Asha Mwendo, on Healing Moment inside Gospel and Soul every Wednesday, 6 p.m., where we will help you to understand your purpose. We will help you to find your wind. We'll show you how to open your wings and fly. Healing Moments, Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music.
Geography.
Good evening, my people. How are you this evening? It's your girl, Dr. Asha Mwendo, and I'm coming to you live with Healing Moments, brought to you by Wellness in Motion on Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music. We have an awesome show lined up for you this evening, so I can guarantee you're going to have a good time. But as usual, Healing Moments join with the call for elimination of violence against women and girls. My guest this evening will be Mr. Patrick Trelawney Beckford. I said Trelawney Beckford because we call him Mr. Trelawney. And this evening we'll be looking at parents' perspective in survival when you have a child with special needs. And you'll remember that Not last week, but the week before, we had Darnell Beckford on. So this evening, the dad is coming on to give us a little his side of the story, kind of way the parents' side. So you're going to not want to miss that. So tell your friends to get ready to join us. So here now, you remember, you join us on all social media platforms at FitFM 96.7, and you listen to us streaming live at fitfmja.com, or you can WhatsApp us on 876-482-4944. And so we have Claudia Johnson Taylor telling us good evening already. Big up, Claudia. Good to have you on. So you know the drill. You're going to get a sip, tell your friend, and then you come right back as we get into this little music and transition. Shine, I will shine. Let my little light shine. I will shine. Oh, yeah. I'm taking my time to live again. This is the time to reign, living above the hurt and pain. And I will never, never be the same. Shine, I will shine. I'm gonna let my little light shine. Shine, I will shine. The love of God will shine through me. Now I walk with my head up high. Like an eagle I will fly. My limit is not the sky. For my strength lies only in the Lord. 'Cause there's no limit where He can take me. Shine, I will shine. I'm gonna let my little light shine. Shine, I will shine. The love of God will shine through me. Now I walk with my head up high. Like an eagle I will fly. My limit is not the sky. For my strength lies only in the Lord. 'Cause there's no limit where He can take me. Welcome back. You remember now you're listening to your girl, Dr. Asha Mwendo, on Healing Moments on Fit FM 96.7. And we have an awesome show lineup for you this evening. But just before we get into that, you know, we always do our Let's Talk. And my Let's Talk this evening, I want you to listen to me. I'm very, very um direct in what I'm going to talk about this evening. I want you to listen. It's for your own good. And we're looking at COVID-19 again. And we know all these variants are here with us, and it's going to be here with us for a while if we do not get our act together. Every day, you hear from another person who is affected or infected. You'll hear of someone who is dying. Recently, we had one family, 4 persons out of that family gone just like that. Listen to me. The only person who can take control of your life and deal with COVID is you, right? So all of us must work together. We must make sacrifices to make it work. We have to get it now. And listen to me, sitting down and blaming the government and the system is not going to help. It gone through the gate already. We have to do our best to get these horses that are pulling the cart straight to I don't know where. If we want to control it, we have to pull it together. So let's be practical. Start obeying the protocols. Wear your mask. Wash and or sanitize your hands all the time. Practice safe distancing. We know the drill. Let's do it. When you go out and get home, change your clothes. Wash yourself before mixing with your family, especially the children and the seniors. Just follow the routine. If you are so inclined, take the vaccine. And I notice I say so inclined because I'm not telling anyone that they should take it or they shouldn't take it. It's your choice. The requirement is that you take it, but I'm telling you it's your choice. But if you're not taking the vaccine, still do everything you need to do and make a decision, the sacrifice. You are going to look at the acceptable risk. Your life, your family life, who it will affect. It's your decision on the acceptable risk. But remember, when it don't work out in your favor, don't blame anyone. The system is overburdened. The government is not coming out and say to you in plain English, but oxygen is expensive. And since the demand went up, the production price gone up. It is more expensive than ever before. And to be honest with all that is going on now, government might have to start tagging a little price on treatment if we want to be able to have funds to do all of this. Remember, each one of us that is saying the government should do more, remember, we will have to pay more to get more done. It's taxpayers' dollars that runs country. And COVID is happening, and everything else that we needed money for before today still exists. So we still need money for education. We still need money for the regular health system to run. COVID is just one more thing added to what was happening. It's not that we, like when you're planning your own family thing and you pay off this mortgage and you take on another one. In this case, all the mortgage running together at the same time. And COVID is an expensive mortgage that we have to pay. So let's get it right. Start building your immune system. The immune system is the body's defense system. It's like our police force and our soldier force that protects the country. When the country don't have enough guns, if you don't have enough guns and all the things that the police and the soldiers need, the country, the borders are at risk. We cannot protect it. It's the same thing with our system now. We need to have our immune system properly marshaled, or else it cannot provide the proper defense. So let us start today. I'm going to give you some pointers now on how you are going to take care of yourself. So listen up as we talk. Get your pen, get your paper, tell a friend to check in, because now I'm going to give you some practical things you need to do other than taking the vaccine. And listen to me, I'm not saying don't take the vaccine, I'm saying along with. Because even if you take the vaccine, remember, it's at 100% protection, like when you took the measles shot. So you have the chance of still being infected, but you want to get better quicker. And this Delta strain is no joke. And I have a strong feeling that there's something stronger than Delta going around, and they don't find out one yet. Because this thing is going into your lungs and it is sitting down. So hear me, you're going to improve on your vitamin D. And I'm not going to give you a vitamin D supplement that you can take this evening, because I'm not going to advertise for anybody who is, but I'm going to tell you, the sunshine, for the darker skin people, 45 minutes to an hour in the sun. For the lighter skin, 15 to 20, 25 minutes at the most of sunshine, and you get your dose for the day. When you go out in the sun, cover yourself properly. Cover your hands and your feet, that you can get a unified, concentrate of the vitamin D building up in your system. Cover your head. Let's go to God's garden for our pharmacy. Let's eat our medicine. So you're going to reduce your sugar intake, increase your antioxidant intake. This can be done with your vitamin C. And for me, I find pineapple juice one of the best source of vitamin C, and it is very mild on the stomach and not very acidic. So the stomach is able to work with it better than most. So that's my go-to. But whatever your go-to for vitamin C, do it. So you're gonna do your vitamin C, you improve on your vitamin D, vitamin C, and the zinc. The zinc is extremely important for you to get, if you have the COVID, to get yourself back up and running, right? Have a balanced diet. Reduce your animal protein. I'm not going to tell you no stop eating meat. It's your choice, but reduce the amount of animal protein you take in. Reduce or stop smoking to increase the lungs' ability to work at its optimum. And I am now going to give you a remedy that you can use to protect your immune system, that you don't come down with COVID. And if you come down with COVID, something that can help you to get well quickly. So I hope you have your pen in hand and your paper. And here are the ingredients for your treatment: 10 cloves of garlic. So ginger, 6 inches. Onion, 2 medium onions. Turmeric, 6 inches. Lemon juice, 12 teaspoons, or you squeeze 6 small lemon. The cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon, or if you don't have it in that form, you have the capsule, 5 capsules will do. If you're not diabetic, add honey for taste. It's up to you if you want to add it for taste. And then 2 cups of hot water. You're going to put all of that together and blend it. And then after you blend it, you put it down and let it steep for about 40 minutes. Then you strain. And if you were like me, now hear what I do now. You see, after I strain mine and I put it on the fridge, the pulp or the residue that is left over, I keep what is left over, and I dry it and I use it in my vegetables for seasoning. It tastes really, really good. So you don't have to waste anything when you do that. And after you do that, now, if you don't have COVID, you take 2 teaspoons 2 times per day. That's it. If you come down with COVID, now you're going to use this. You take 3 to 4 tablespoons every 15 to 20 minutes for like 2 hours. Then you drink a lot of water, take a break, and then you go back again. And you take this every single day until you are better. And after you're better, you go back to 2 tablespoons 2 times a day, and you're good to go. Pay attention to your blood pressure. So if you are someone whose pressure is going down, then you're going to reduce the garlic or take a little break and work on that, and use your food to build back your pressure level. Because everything we need to be well is provided in nature, right? And you're going to use, and another thing you're going to do now, if you have had the COVID or you have other breathing issues, the same mixture I just told you, you're going to not, this time you're not going to draw it, you're going to boil it. And after you have boiled it, while it is still hot, you put some peppermint or eucalyptus oil in it, and then you put all your head over that and steam your lungs, and breathe it in that you can steam your lungs. And this will help to clear up your nostrils and help to clear up the lungs. After you have done that, then you kneel on the ground and you kneel and lean forward and put your head as low as you can and make some strong coughing and cough real hard, and that will break up the mucus in the lungs and bring it out. So that's my little tip for you this week on how you take care of yourself. Next week, I will give you some more, right? Awesome. So that's my little Let's Talk for you. Before I give you a little transition music, I want to acknowledge a little gentleman. Well, we can't call him little, because he's a big gentleman that is sitting in the wings looking at me. And so I want to say, hi, Patrick, how are you?
I'm great.
Good to have you with me this evening.
Yeah, I was taking notes too.
Oh, I'm glad you're taking notes, right? And if I have time at the end of our conversation, because I know we're going to get caught up when you start and we're going to have an exciting time, I will repeat. But just before Patrick talks to us, just to get you ready, we're going to play a little bit of our music again, and then we'll get into our conversation. So listen to this.
God, you are holy, you are wonderful and awesome. And there's no greater joy than to give you praise and glory and honor. What I want to do right now, God, is to give you the highest praise. Hallelujah. No one is greater than you. No one. No one is mightier than you. No one. No one can love me like you do. But to you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. You made the sun, moon, and stars. Sovereign God. Sovereign God is who you are. Mighty conquering the stars. But to you. Hallelujah. 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 My God. Hallelujah. My King. Yes, God. Hallelujah. My Lord. Hallelujah, hallelujah. No one is greater than, and no one is mightier than you. No one can love me like you do. Hallelujah, hallelujah. You made the sun, moon, and stars. Sovereign God is who you are. Mighty conquering this war. Hallelujah, 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 my God. Hallelujah, my King. Hallelujah, my Lord. Hallelujah, hallelujah. You are the great high priest. Mercy and grace you release. You give me perfect peace. To you, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Welcome back, hallelujah. That's Kerry Sales. Listening to him, we give him the praise, hallelujah. So this evening, I want you to know you're coming back. This is Dr. Asha Mwendo, your girl, on Healing Moments on Fit FM 96.7, brought to you by Wellness in Motion. And this evening, I have as my guest, as I said before, Mr. Patrick Beckford, Mr. Trelawney himself. And so a couple weeks ago, we had Darnell on who was talking about his journey with epilepsy and his book. And so this week, we're going to hear the parents' perspective on how they had to deal with all of this. I'm not going to give you nothing much. I'm going to let the gentleman tell his own story and speak his own journey. And so this evening, I want to welcome Patrick Beckford to my program, Healing Moments. Patrick, how are you?
Hey, my sister, Dr. Mwendo. It's so good to be on, and I hear her shouting out one of my classmates, Claudia Johnson Taylor.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes, she came on pretty early.
yeah. Because the last time I visited Jamaica, I went to her church in Montego Bay Saturday.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so definitely, and my friend that I just talked to this morning, Jody Marie
Mhm.
Bihari, one of your hosts
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. All right,
So,
Jody.
but just one correction with the Mr. Trelawney. The Mr. Trelawney is the outside people in the diaspora that call
Yeah,
me.
we know. We
Everywhere
know.
I
We're gonna
go,
get to that. We're gonna get
yeah.
to
But
that.
but my real nickname in Falmouth, I'm the
Yeah.
original foodie.
Yes. Yes. I forget that name. Yes,
So
man. I forget
so
that
I
name.
if I know I'm gonna get cursed out if I don't mention that, because that's my
Yeah.
Falmouth name.
Yeah. The Falmouth name is Foodie. So
Yeah.
Mr. Foodie is on. So Mr. Foodie, tell the people who is Patrick.
Well, okay. So I just retired the 1st of July after working with Sprint, now T-Mobile, for 20 plus years as one of the network engineer. And during that, I wear several hats. I'm an associate minister in charge of pastoral care at my church. I am the chairman of the denomination's um, home for the AIDS and Rehabilitation Center. And also, I am very active in in counseling, friends and couples, and even people are going through a lot of pain emotionally with them with the thing. So, but before you ask a question, because I just want to say something that's near to my heart. that you
Okay.
mentioned. You talk about violence against women and children. And
Yes.
that is something that's so, I mean, near and dear to me because you know, in spite of everything, that's one thing, I always tell my friends two things I don't like about men. And I don't like a man who does not take care of his children and a man
Mm-hmm.
who try to abuse women. So,
Yeah.
I just want to shout because I listen to you all the time and you keep mentioning that about violence and,
Yes.
and it's supported. And the other thing is that under COVID, I took my Pfizer on January 8th, actually,
Mm-hmm.
which is our wedding anniversary. And so
Okay.
I took it on that day. And I always say to my Jamaican friends, you smoke a cigarette, you
Mm-hmm.
have headache, you take painkillers, you drink
Mm-hmm.
rum, you drink beer, but
Yes.
you never question what are in those things.
I tell
So,
you.
so please, I mean, I want to visit Jamaica. I mean, because now that I'm retired, I have a lot of free time. I call myself a PI, which is a professional idler. Not, but
That's a
But
good
most people,
one.
but most people said, "You idle?" No, because I'm always doing things, and I really, I mean, I'm fully into what I'm doing now, and God says, push me, says, I want you to do something different. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a servant, and I follow God. So that's who I am. My wife and I mean, unfortunately, and this is an arrangement. I'll go into that, but she works in the evening, and I'll explain that later why we do one in the day, one in the
Mm-hmm.
evening. But she and I have been comes January 8th next year. We'll be married 38 years. So,
Awesome.
so so that's me. We have another daughter, Patrice,
Mm-hmm.
who she cost me a lot of money because she and still want to do that because right now she went to got two masters from college and so she's now and like two jobs. Everybody say you're real Jamaican pick me because she she has that she's a probation officer in charge of first time offenders in one of the
Okay.
county and she's also a social worker and and so you know I think I can pat myself a little bit on the shoulder. The kids did well, so
Amen. 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 And that is one of that's one of parents' pride when they can say, yes, their children have done well. And not only that they did well, but you contributed to their success.
exactly.
And I know for your children, it's a blessing to have both parents in their lives, especially having daddy around,
Hmm.
because it's a blessing that a lot of children don't have. And so it is good. And big up to you for standing in the gap, being their support, being their guidance, and the way Darnell is doing and turn out with all the challenges that he might have had is a testament to how well you and your wife have supported your kids. And for that, I am lauding it and I'm speaking it out loud that other parents, especially our fathers, will hear and understand how important it is to be in their children's life. And I know you're going to help me to bring that across this
Yeah.
evening. So we're going to go back to the beginning per se.
Hmm.
That we're looking at Darnell because he is a pivot of this conversation that we're having this evening.
Hmm.
What led up to Darnell being diagnosed at the age of 2?
Well, the issue was Darnell and Patrice, my daughter, they were attending the Catholic school, and I'll
Mhm.
explain that reason why. Um, but so he had because the school was, I mean, it's tight space, and I think it was almost the beginning of summer.
Mhm.
Um, he was diagnosed with encephalitis as a form of, I think, a cold and with high fever. And
Yeah,
that
the
weekend,
brain. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, that weekend was Memorial Weekend, and if all those who know Memorial Weekend, that was a Trelawney weekend where we had
Yes.
this large picnic that started out with 8 people, and the last time we had it pre-COVID was 10,000 people in a park.
Yeah.
So, so I was head cook and bottle washer in the thing, but he was very active, he would say very active like his dad, very, run around and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
that weekend he was a little bit lethargic. And so the Sunday we went to the picnic, everybody saying, no, Daniel is not himself. And so the Monday we were downstairs where we were living at the time in the kitchen, and my daughter cried out, Mommy, Daddy, Daniel is shaking. So I went up and I saw it, and never really, I mean, at that instant, because my first concern is why is he shaking? I picked him up,
Right.
and trust me, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
even bother to call 911 because even the police know me in town and everything. So I just broke everything and took him to the hospital emergency room,
Right.
um, not realizing that it was seizures. In Jamaica we refer to it as fits.
Fits. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mention it because I know I'm talking to a large Jamaican
Yes.
audience. And one of the things, there's a stigma to fits in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things is that, and then from there, we went to one other hospital because the first hospital says, oh, he's been lethargic, it's da. And, saying lethargic, this
Mm-hmm.
child, we know our child, he's
Yes.
not
Mm-hmm.
lethargic. Something's wrong. So my sister-in-law, who is a nurse, said, take him to another hospital. We did.
Yes.
And inside there, another episode of Caesar came
Oh.
on. And so that week was just one of the hardest times that I can remember, for myself and, my wife. She was more emotional. I was,
Mm-hmm.
but as I was was taught as a young man and as a child that men not supposed to show emotions and cry,
Wow. Which is a mistake, eh?
which is so wrong. I,
Yes.
I learned to cry nowadays when I'm happy, when I'm sad and everything, and it's always a blessing when I do,
Amen.
and I get to show the emotion. And
Mm-hmm.
so I remember, as I stand, and this is very important, as I stood by the hospital, the door of the
Mm-hmm.
room where he was, and my wife was in there with the tears and everything. And this elderly lady walked by me and she said, young man, God don't give you more than you can bear. And
Ah.
Dr. Mwendo, though I'm a church person at that point, I and I don't curse. Most of my friends, never hear me curse, and that's
Mm-hmm.
one principle I have. And the respect for women and elderly women kept me from just saying, get, whatever out of my face and what God would do, or his
Mm-hmm.
son. And, you know, I never forget that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Never forget that. And what it taught me from there, and as you ask more questions, I put it together to you, how that I remember that, and when
Yes.
that came back to me in 2016, and I,
Wow.
I tell you that. So
Yeah.
so from there, a lot of things start to roll. So now he spent 1 month in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
1 month in the hospital. And because my wife Dorrit and I had make a pact that once we started to have children, my thing is that I don't really like babysitter for my children
Okay.
because I don't know what is going on when I'm not there and whatever thing. And she felt the same way. So the thing is that we decided that one will work the night shift and one will work the day shift. And
Right.
everybody, my friend says, "How you do that? You know, have your wife in there at night time." I said, "Listen, man, there are bigger things because God bless us with 2 children, and our
Mm-hmm.
responsibility is to make sure that they are safe 24/7. And
Yeah.
so the loving that most people think of, have a wife, you can do that. I mean, intimacy,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You put everything in context with it,
Yes.
because you're blessed. We don't know why God gave us Darnell, why gave us Patrice, why God makes other things happen.
And why
Because
he chooses this journey for us.
exactly. And he knows why he placed us in that journey. So that was there. And the first lesson I'd like to tell people: when you go to a doctor, know your child.
Yes.
Donna was in the hospital for a month, and they were pondering, what is it? Why, at he's getting all these seizures. First, I gave him a medication called Tegretol, and he was like bouncing like, a ball, thing. He said,
Mm-hmm.
no, we don't need that. I gave him a couple that, he settled down, but one in particular. So we were so tired of, she stays at the hospital in the days and gets her sleep. I go there in the night. And, it kind of sounds jumbled, but thanks be to God for a village. We had
Yes.
some friends who's who I met, and their granddaughter and Patrice were the same age, and they
Mm-hmm.
said, leave the Patrice with us. We'll take care. Don't worry,
Yes.
and everything. I mean, and all of those ladies are the officers, and would diligently each night, take care, and it continues even to this day. But so when we decided, we had a conversation because the doctor, Dr. Cornishberger, was a neurosurgeon. He
Mm-hmm.
said, within Doris and I um, presence, you know, you got to get ready to take care of Darnell for the rest of his life because there's so much cognitive damages to his
Wow.
brain because of the frequency of the seizures. So
Mm-hmm.
he won't make up to doing anything more than with his fingers. And she started to cry. I was, I sucked it in, and I made a resolve that day that, okay, if it's at his fingers, it'd probably be the best fingers that he used. And
Yes.
so the very night was a Friday night. He came home,
Mm-hmm.
and the medic every night at 11 o'clock he would have a seizure. That was the only thing that kept him for a month. And so I got up to give him the same medications called Dilantin. And I
Oh.
pick up the medication and I said, Darnell, time for your Dilantin, time for another seizure. And I knocked my head. Oh gosh. And I went on the computer and I look up Dilantin. And you know
Mm-hmm.
what? Dr. Mwendo was one of the side effects of Dilantin
Yes.
causes seizures.
Yes.
I picked up the phone and I said, I need to speak to the neurosurgeon, the neurologist on
Mm-hmm.
call. And I called and it was Dr. Kornishberger. And I got mad at him. I said, I know why my son was in the hospital and why he got, why do you know, Mr. Beckford? Why? I said, every night you give him this God forsaken Dilantin and he has a seizure. Okay, I'll call you back in 3 minutes. And they call me back in 2 minutes. Mr. Beckford, whatever you want to do with that lantern, throw it in the garbage.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he could say. Never admitted that, you found it. But my
Right.
analytical skills that I had to use in my job and use a
Yes.
phone, I figured it out and it blurred it
Yes.
out.
That's a good
So
thing.
so the lesson one for parents: no, research everything that the doctors
Yes.
will give to your child, even your own self, to
Mm-hmm.
know that because they don't know what they're doing and they're trying to fix it and not thinking. So we moved on into the different things, and as we try to figure life day by day with him, figure this new phenomena, because I know it's, yeah, we know it is fits. And then my Jamaican mentality kind of
Yes.
seeps in. Okay, Fitz, man, there's a young kid that I know that usually walk in Falmouth, and he had this helmet on, Rowan, and he drowned because of everything. And I said that none of that is gonna happen to
Happen.
the Darnell, because for some reason God gave us, and he thinks that what it is. So
Mhm.
that leaped into another journey, and the other
Yes.
journey was going to public schools in America.
Yes. Yes.
So before let me say this to you, Dr. Mwende, if you don't know, my wife and I met in Teachers College, St.
Okay.
Joseph in Kingston. So we
Okay.
were trained as teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Even though she taught longer than I did 1 year, then I migrated. But we know what enhances education, what you could do for children to learn.
Right.
I I, I got into teaching because I read a book at the library in Falmouth, and it's by Dr. Hubert Cole. It's entitled.
Patrick, just a moment. You see, I have a passion for the library. So repeat where you read that book
I
again,
read a
please.
book in the Falmouth Library
Yes.
on Rodney Street, right beside the
Yes.
Methodist Church. And that's where we usually, as guys, usually congregate on Saturdays. We share different parts of the Gleaner and
Yeah.
read it, because reading was something that, I started to learn to read at 3 from.
Patrick, you're not being honest, you know.
No, seriously, I
It
learned.
was more than just the Gleaner, man. And look, girls too.
No, let me tell you the other part of Dr. Mwendo. My sister, my sister was taking me to the library because
Okay.
my mother was adamant about them not reading the romance comic books. So that's where she get to read them. But I always
Oh,
had to
okay.
follow my sister. And then I realized I said to her the other day, I said, Lolita, you're pimping me out because you're taking me to the library to meet the boys. So that's where I started to learn to read.
Yeah.
So the library was
Come
always,
back a little bit more to your right, to your left. You're coming out of camera. Oh, good.
yeah. So the reason now is that when I read this book, that
Oh.
got me to want to educate. Hubert Carl wrote 36 Children, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it was published 1968. I read it early 70s. He was
Mm-hmm.
placed, and that left a lasting impression on my brain. He was
Yeah.
placed in a Harlem school to teach, and they
Mm-hmm.
made a mistake. He was supposed to teach all the A students, and they gave him 36 students who
Mm-hmm.
were below, were troubled kids below. He taught them not knowing that they were just below average kids, like they were A students, and all of them
Awesome.
graduated as A students. So,
Mm.
so that memory, seeped into my mind because we had to go to the public school, because the
Right.
public school said the private school with the Catholic school says we don't have the resources to do it, because they figured more or less he has seizures, which is the stigma that people with the challenge of seizures face. Just like in Jamaica, they figure more or
Mm-hmm.
less your brain is gone, you can't do anything. So
Mm-hmm.
it became a journey for me at this time. Because the
Yeah.
thing is that when I walked into that public school in Irvington, we were living there, I was like, my jaw dropped. And because
Mm-hmm.
I realized the walls were gray,
Yes.
and there was this middle-aged white woman teaching about 40 plus kids in a class,
Mm.
and there were no, normally over 20 you would have aid, a teaching assistant in the areas where there were the suburbs. Okay, so there were children of color, poor children, and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
so I walked in and I said, God, this can't stimulate the education. And one
Yes.
thing it took me back to, because I read about Emmett Till. And one of the things that I read about Emmett Till is that the narrative is that white women from the age of as a child were taught to be fearful of black men and boys, because they.
Oh.
So I'm looking at this. How is she gonna do that? You know, none of them to this day knew that my wife and I were teachers because
Oh.
we didn't go inside there. So
Yes.
I went there and I introduced myself to the principal and everything, and I said, "Where does a PTA? When does a PTA meet?" Because
Yes.
while we were at the Catholic school, I was involved because you know, I can tell you, you asked about women, right? So when I was there, it was mostly, I mean, even in Catholic school, the parents would show up, but it was mostly females.
Yes.
And so a lot of
Even
the
in Jamaica.
yeah, a lot of the teachers would hit on me because I was told that women find men who take care of the children very sexy. So you hear that, my Jamaican brother said. You know, so, so they would like always want to have conversation, and at first I'm very conversational. So
Mhm.
we went there, and so I went the following month. We said the following Wednesday night there were PTA meetings. So I went
Mhm.
expecting that 450 children at the school. At least you have 100, 200 people in attendance. When I went in, I was the 13th person inside there.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, I was the only guy inside the
Of
meeting.
course.
And so I'm like, wow, woo. So lucky for me, and then lucky for another lady, the president of the PTA had resigned. And so they were
Mhm.
supposed to have a vote. And so
Mhm.
they said, is there anyone who, we need to vote for a president?
Mhm.
Unbeknownst to me, another lady was wanted to use the PTA as a stepping stone into politics. I don't
Oh.
know that. So they said,
Mhm.
if somebody want to volunteer for president, I stick my hand first up,
Yes.
because I mean, if anyone knows me, I go inside and I look and I evaluate everybody. I say, none of you guys can't lead me. So, you know, so it was a 6-6 vote. And there was this middle aged lady who said, I'm going to vote for the gentleman, because she didn't know my name. And she told me, Mrs. Dawson told me several months after, she said, there was something that the Spirit tells me about you, that
Mhm.
and why you put your hand up, so that you're going to be a good leader. So I took that 13 attendance to when I have PTA, police has to come to control traffic, because I
Yes.
have 400 or 500 people present. And it's a simple way, is just learning what makes the person sick,
Yes.
and I realized that they love parents love when their children are given awards. So I went to the mayor of the town and I said, listen, we need to get the children. There's a disciplinary problem. I said, why don't we do a certificate and hand
Incentive.
it
Yeah.
out to the kids who just have one D mark, and they do, pass the school. And she said, oh, but I said, listen, Mayor, it's only going to cost you peanuts to just get it. Your name will be in their homes. Think as a
Yes.
politician. When election time, they already know your name. So
Mhm.
I've said, okay, I do that, but I need food. I don't have any money. Why don't you go around and ask the town? Because I know if they're coming there, want to
Mhm.
serve something. In other words, to get their attention. Because I
Right.
told them my plan. I want to get the parents to know. And so I walked around to the businessman and I went to the first restaurant. Oh, I said, but you might get rid of the food at the end of the day. What? Oh, it's so expensive. And I looked at him and I said, let me tell you something. Here's what we're doing to uplift the children in the community. These are your future customers,
Right.
or could be your
Yes,
future
Mr.
predators.
Jamaican politician.
No, but I I learned from one of the masters in Jamaica. I learned
Yeah.
from I'm a student of Michael Manley. I learned
Oh.
from him, and because I have to use my voice, and I realized that God gave me a voice, and then I realized also that's the purpose why I went into that school.
Mhm.
And I tell you about the sermon later. But from that, I pivot to, I mean, anywhere in town, everybody know him, because when they run the Board of Education meeting to act, you go and listen. They talk about the policies, the vote on the budget, but you have a
Right.
time when you could go up and ask questions. The Sunshine Law. So I remember the first time I went to this meeting, I know nothing the protocols. So I
Mhm.
went up to the line and says question, because I'm going to say, how for God's sake we're going to Iraq, fighting a war for millions of dollars per day, and you can't provide an aid for a classroom. This is unacceptable. So I went up and gave my name, Patrick Beckford, at 12 Bell Street in Irvington. You got to give that. And I started to
Right.
get into my spiel. And the chair president says, sir, what agenda items you're gonna speak on? I didn't
Yeah.
have any agenda. The next person, I said, let me see the agenda. The first thing I saw, finance. I said, finance. And this is okay. And then went through. And they looked at me. But from that, I mean, that one person as a parent made a difference to that community, to that
And and that is very important, when you're navigating and you're going as a parent, you have to speak up for the best interest of your child. So now you have navigated Darnell through this area. The next level now, he would have finished primary school. What next was there for Darnell at that time?
Well, what happened is that what they do
Mm,
is that they said, okay, they figured more or less he needs smaller classroom size, so they can't afford it at the primary level. So what
mhm,
they classify them as someone with disability. So they have to create an independent education plan for him, which is called the IEP, and
okay.
they have special schools that make tons of money
Mhm,
for taxpaying dollars to
yeah.
teach. But it goes back to what spoke about in the beginning, knowing your child and know
Mm,
that you don't let people define what your child is going to be. And
right.
so the determination in our aim, because what there was a procedure that we did on a on a term by term basis. What we would do, we would sit down, Daniel and Patrice, and we says, okay, they had the notebook. I said, last semester you get B in this subject. So if you get A this one, it's gonna be $1. That time dollar was a lot of money to them for
Yes.
until you know. And so he would have a plan and she would have a plan for the semester. So they go knowing that okay, they're gonna get money. So
Mm-hmm.
that puts them in the whole way of working towards a goal because you got to set a plan for your child and your
Yes.
children. Don't think that they're going to send them to school and the teacher is going to do everything because the school is total. The
Right.
community, the home, and others in it's really the village that really educates the children. And
Very
so
important.
very
Very
important.
important.
So
Yes.
so we with that we do it. So when he goes into the school, he loved to cook, because
Okay.
yeah, because he sees me and other my male friends. We're in the kitchen, and the women would sit aside, and so I think he got that impression, and so he wanted to be a chef and everything. And so, okay, fine, you want to do that because one thing, I always tell people when I speak to them, I said, when you look at your child, think
Mm-hmm.
about the birds when they're flying in the air. They're always flying in a formation. And the
Yes.
reason why they're flying in that formation is the younger birds, they're protecting them. And so what happened is that as soon as the younger one is struggling, one of the older, more experienced one would go under and give them a soft landing. So that is it. So that's what I have to look at and says, I mean, this is what. So we're giving this young man with a challenge. So we got
Right.
to meet him. But the schools that we call the special eds, they were just teaching him according to what they see his ability is written in. While we at home would challenge him and says, okay, do this, do X, do Z.
Yes.
Our thing was challenging the kids. So he went there and now he started to build up he's played baseball. And I remember,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's like worried, oh, he's going to get a hit in his head. I would be at the side and watch him, and he's doing great. But the problem, they were putting him in classifying him in a league that with a lot of kids who were physically disabled and, more were mentally disabled. And so one of the coach looked at me and says, what's the problem with your son? What type of disability he has?
Yes.
He said he does not belong in this group. He belongs
Right.
with the regular kid. That was the first booster.
Right.
Someone recognized that he is as good as the regular kids, even better than that. You know,
Right. And that's
so
good.
so so this is one of the recognitions that people I don't know. Look at the kid. Don't look at what he has,
Yes.
because there's bigger thing. So he was going there and it was going and delayed as he was mentioned in high school. And
Mm-hmm.
so what we would do, um, I started to take Patrice around to colleges to visit. And I said, come
Right.
along, you know.
Yes.
And I did not know this one. This one escapes me.
Yeah.
but he was taking his notes.
Yes.
And so when it was time for him to go high school, after going through challenges and everything, and he challenged them because he knows his father has a mouth, so he kind of imitates me, and he would challenge them, and then we would have good conferences with the teacher. There was one who in particular started to challenge him academically.
Mhm.
And so when he went to, we went and he said, when it was time, he said, I want to go to college.
Right.
I said, okay, all right. I give you the same privilege that I do with Patrice.
Mm-hmm.
He got better because we flew to Florida to visit
Okay.
her. She
Yes.
never got, she was local, so, but, because I said, I'm not going to give you anything different, so, and I think I made a mistake in one of the college because it was specifically for children with disability. And I
Mm-hmm.
could see the look in his face that, oh my gosh, yeah, what, he felt insulted because it's that the same thing. So we came back, we went to New York, we went to Pennsylvania, Philadelphia to look at some colleges. But one of the things, we were a little bit hesitant at that stage. We don't know how would manage by himself with seizures and, how about that. And so on the way back, there was a gentleman who sent his son with me. And on the
Mm-hmm.
way back, the conversation went, I said, Donald, because he wanted to do music. And when I look at the remuneration, it would cost like $100,000 to go to one of the schools to learn about production and all that stuff. And then the
Mm-hmm.
starting salary would be like 30 something $1,000. And I'm like, oh, you're going to be, you're going to be paying this forever because it's 100,000 a year. So I said to him, on the way back, we stopped and we got some food. And on the way back, I said to him, I said, Donald, when you wake up in the morning, tell me the first thing you think about.
Yes.
He said, oh, I think about what I could cook and all that stuff. And I started to tell him and remind him, that there's a story about the talent in the Bible. That
Yes.
let's talk about some have five, some have four, some have three, some have one. And it's,
Mm-hmm.
the whole aim of the story is to look at the talent you have and double that talent. I said, I'll
Yes.
tell you something. You're one of the best cook for your age. You know about it. Why don't you go to college now locally and do food and beverage management? And, you know, then maybe when you become the big food and beverage expert, you can just do in your basement or whatever and do your production yourself and do start
Yeah.
it up your thing. You do it as a hobby because you
Mm-hmm.
have what you're ordained to be, you know.
Right.
So, we agreed, it started, and,
Mm-hmm.
said, okay, they, because the college, because you're coming with a disability, they give you special privileges. Unbeknownst to me,
Yeah.
2 weeks after I learned later that he stopped, I said, I don't want it. And then, I remember once he saw the letter from the college, and, and I said, why is this letter here? He said, Bill, I'm not going to open. Let your mother open. But, you know, and then I said, okay. For hours, I said, Donald, didn't show it. So I opened it. And it was a
Mm-hmm.
letter from the dean, says, congratulations, you're on the dean's list.
Wow.
So now here's somebody, the doctor says, the fingers.
Just the fingers.
There's the fingers, so we'd have to take care of. And I'm like, oh, good. And there were challenges during the time, Dr. Mwendo,
Of course.
because I remember once you have seizures and you get your driver's license, if you have an episode and it's reported, you lose your license. So here's a young man going to college.
Yeah.
And so again, we take it one working night, one working day came in handy again because she would drop him off at the college. I was working nearby.
Mm-hmm.
I would go pick him up in the evening, and I know it was awkward, so I would park in places where you could just walk and come. People don't see his father or something,
Yes.
waiting, waiting on him, or his mother, and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff, waiting on him. So he did well. I was so proud of him, and he graduated. And then he made his own arrangement. He said, "Okay, I'm going to go to the college to be interviewed, where I'm going to be doing my master's. Not my master's,
Okay.
sorry. Maybe it's a Freudian slip. Um, he's going to be doing his bachelor's after
Mm-hmm.
graduating with his associate degree in food and beverage. He's going to do management. So we went
Mm-hmm.
in thinking that as parents, we're going to be engaged in a conversation. And so my
Yeah.
wife was sitting inside there, and I was like quiet. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, whoa, the way he handles himself. I'm like,
Right. Awesome.
you know,
Saw
and
him in action.
yes, and I'm like, wow, and sometimes you go back and says, what it is, that everything is happening there. So there he did well, so in between that, Dr. Mwendo, I preach sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was asked on a Memorial Day to preach, and I was preparing from the text of Jeremiah 29.
Mm-hmm.
When the children of Israel were captured by the Babylonians, and they're singing this song. That's why I don't love that song anymore. By the rivers of Babylon, where we sat
Okay.
down,
Yeah.
and where we were, and God got mad at them and said to Aaron, "Tell them I put them in a place for a reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy the thing." And while I was writing that sermon, and I like to really know God,
Mm-hmm.
is that why? Because that was when, remember, I told you about the lady that says, God that can give you more than
Yes.
you can bear. It
Right.
came
Mm-hmm.
right into me and said, God, you put me there because you know I'm mouthy. So I'm going to go to local school and cause good trouble.
Yes.
You gave us this boy because you know what our abilities are as educators from Jamaica,
Mm-hmm.
and our firm belief that there's no child that is useless. We
Mm-hmm.
make them useless, but they're born with a purpose. Each child is born with a purpose, and it's for us to tap into that child by
Yes.
observation, by being a parent, by being a teacher, and figured more or less what makes this child ticks, what
And
is going to
pave
make
a
this
way
child
for other children.
bingo. So that was when I'm like, wow, God, you really used me. You really used me. And therefore, the thing is that how do we take that lesson
Yes.
into the entirety of our lives?
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter what it is, you might think today I bucked my toe and your toe hurting you, but maybe God make you buck your toe because if you'd walk too far, one carry that lick you down.
I
Right?
tell you.
So the thing is that
You see, Patrick, I live my life from a perspective that everything that happens to your life, be it health or social, whatever it is, happened for three reasons.
mhm,
One reason, you have been disobedient to the laws of health. You have been, or you might have been disobedient to the laws of God. But for me, the greater issue and the greater reason why things happen to some of us is simply for the glory of God,
amen.
for Him to be able to use us to manifest
Hmm.
His greatness and to pave ways and leave lessons that others coming after us.
Yep. And Dr.
Yes.
Mwenda, there was Sunday, there was a revelation of that too. There's a young lady that, I do pastoral care. She has two daughters. And so I visited them and, talked with them. And the last daughter, she was acting up, and I mean, just, and I was at church and I went beside her and I said, like, her name is Olivia. I said, Olivia, how are you? She said, but but I noticed she was scribbling on the paper.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to her, what is she scribbling? She said, she's always writing, always drawing. So I went to her
Mm-hmm.
and said, Olivia, you like to draw? And she looked at me and she said, yes. And then she put her head down. And I said to the mother, you got to find somebody who could help her with arts, because this is what, you know what? Last Sunday, we were at church after our vacation Bible school play that we presented. She was a lead singer. She was in her element. I was just talking to the mother today. She says,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that daughter. I said, well, you got to embrace that daughter now, because
Yes.
that's her thing. She was just like calm and everything. She was a little bit disruptive, and she saw me standing. She kind of bent out and went in the car. and I make sure that she's all right and everything. But never. So when she was finished, I came and I said, "Man, I got to see some of your drawings. You were
Mhm.
so good." Everyone came, and she
Yeah.
said,
You know, maybe she's an artistic child who's not getting an opportunity to express herself.
and
And that is so much
exactly,
times parents miss the cues to realize the children are acting this way, not because they are giving trouble. They are just asking you to see them as an individual, you know. So just before you continue, Patrick, I want to big up our listeners on all our social media platforms on YouTube and those who are listening to us on streaming live all over the world, because I must tell you, Patrick, we have listeners far and wide. And I want to just big up a little bit those of us we have on Facebook here. We have Claudia saying, how amazing this is. And we have Miss Joy Lash, saying the story is really encouraging and positive, and the ending is great. And she bigging it up for bigging up the library, because Miss Lash is one of those persons that sits on a committee that I chair from the library advocacy committee. And so we like when persons remind the world how
hmm,
important the library is in our lives.
yeah,
And so she's bigging you up for mentioning the library. We are so glad about that. So
yeah,
we have listeners on, and your story is really talking to the life of others.
yeah,
And so I want you now to take a little bit and look back, not only now on how Daniel navigated, but look at how through your support, your wife's support and everything, how the family was able to learn from Dinah's ability, how persons around you, your friends, that community, how did this transition and support, and how Daniel becoming an author and all of that,
yeah.
how did this impact your world?
Well, the thing is that everybody calls, like they're demanding. But Daniel, I said, one friend was here, um,
Mm,
stopped by Sunday and he says, "Oh, I'd love him to do that." So I said, "Listen, to me, Daniel is the one who runs his own show. You know,
mhm,
he will ask me for advice or anything, and I share it. But the whole thing is that back to our children, we got to give them the independence and give them the space. But be
yes.
like the bird I said. Surround them. So that if they
Mhm,
fall, and just let's just say that because I could tell you that this is coming from my roots. And there was Barry School. There was a teacher
mhm,
named Mrs. Foster. God bless her. She's alive, still in here, and I keep in contact with her. That was my elementary school teacher. Still my
mhm.
favorite teacher. But I was a chatty youth in school, boy in school, and so I think Dr. Magnus was supposed to be giving a speech talk at the class, and she
Mm.
looked at me and says, "Patrick Beckford, you like to talk so much, so you got to give the vote of thanks to Dr. Magnus." And like I said, okay. And that was my entry into the world of being able to speak and address people. Because I do that, a lot of my friends around is always saying to when we're walking around, going to different forums, whether the U.S. State Department, whether the White House, whether I always talk and meet people and talk to them just like I talk to each of them. They say, "You don't change." I said, "No. First of all, I have a grasp of the English language, so I can speak to anybody knowing that they will understand me. And second, both of them put their pants on and like me the same way this morning. So
Right,
don't be intimidated. Just be yourself. Know who you are. And so the community that we speak of and family, they
right.
chip in a lot because if we go out and everything, they're always looking out. Or some might say, remind me if I'm getting like into the partying and all that stuff. They would say to me, "Is it time for Darnell medicine?" Because we just didn't want to skip the medication
Right.
at a certain time, should in case we should, because the more seizures you get, the more the brain gets damaged, you
Affected,
know,
yes.
and
Hmm.
everything. So they look out. So there's a lot of them that really legitimately can take claim for being a part of his life. to help us. We went on vacation, and
Mm-hmm.
someone said, "Don't worry, let him stay with us if he don't want to go." Because he never caused. Oh, he caused one time because at
Mm-hmm.
my house, there everybody knows that on Sunday rice and peas have to cook at my house. So he was so used to that. So once we're somewhere and the phone ring and he called me and said, "Daddy, how did you cook the rice and peas?" So right on the phone, I taught him how to do it. And
Yes.
he did good. But there was always people around who, because it's a reciprocal um, thing. Because I do a lot, because I became a notary public just because of the people around me. They have to pay lots of money to get things notarized because people know they need these things and they take advantage. I've never charged. I've been a notary public since 1988, and I've never charged a person a penny to do anything because I only do it for my Jamaicans. So that's because you have to give to the community. You have to
Yes.
give, you have to give of your talent so that others can benefit from it. Because guess what? When you give 2 minutes, God give you back 3 hours worth of blessings. And I'm a living proof of it, because I serve. And
Mm-hmm.
it's for me, my motto is that service before self. Because
Yes.
I grew up in a town in Falmouth where other people served us. There were older men, and a lot of people think, "Oh, boy, your father was a great father." No, my father honestly wasn't. He was in and out of my life, and I vow that I will be a better father. You know.
Okay. Okay. So what I want you to do now is tell us the name of the book that Darnell wrote again and remind the world how they can get Darnell's book.
Okay, so the book is called "Let's Be Realistic," and it's
Mhm.
available on Amazon, Hulu, and what's the other one? And it's Darnell at darnellbeckford@gmail.com. So you can get all of that. It's I forget all these things because
Yes.
that is busy in another project. As one of your co-hosts will know that I'm busy on another project. That I'm
Yes.
always doing something for the community for Jamaica, and this is
What
why I
I,
think.
right, what I want you to tell us now, as the listeners and myself, when you saw the first draft of Darnell's book, when you now know that Darnell is writing a book and you read it, what happened? How did you feel? How did it impact you?
Okay, so the very first time, he was challenged by his business law professor, and he was
Mm-hmm.
saying to Daddy, every time this professor I want having a discussion, she have to have me put inside there. So she gave him a package. She says, you should go to law school.
Mm-hmm.
And so she gave him the package, and I said, okay, Donald, one of the things it says, write about yourself. So I said, why don't you just write about yourself? That might be, tell your story.
Mm-hmm.
And so Father's Day um, last year, he said, Daddy, did you check your email? I
Mm-hmm.
said, why? And I'm like, oh yeah, they're cheaping out on me again. Mother's Day, they do everything. But the Mother's Day, I know Father's Day. He's probably giving me an e-card or what a usual tie. That's why I
Mm-hmm.
stopped wearing tie. So he said, no, check it. And so I saw this attachment, and I'm like, I sat there for 2 hours and read it, and
Mm-hmm.
I was a transfixed, and I like, wow, some of these things that he wrote, I never remember them, and he
Right.
had a mental note of everything. And when I was done, he said to me, he said, "How do you like it?" I said, "This is a book. You could
Yes.
develop this into a book." And he said, I said, okay. So I went by myself, and I found a publisher, paid him some money, and turned him on to Darnell. And I didn't even know where the book reached after that
Yeah.
until I read it, because he just took control and did everything. And so, I mean, for a couple nights, I just go to my bed, and every night I go to my bed and I said, God, I thank you. I
Yes.
thank you, God. Because you're awesome. You gave me this challenge, gave my wife and I this challenge because I know that you put the Israelites in Babylon for a reason, and you gave us this bright young man for a reason. And I thank you for trusting us with that. That was a prayer I prayed.
How does your wife feel about the book?
She hasn't read it yet because she read the first, but because she said she's gonna get emotional and everything. But she's hearing bits and pieces, and then you can see, my Jamaican ladies like to cry. So but I'm a crybaby now because sometimes I am preaching, and the sermon is start to reflect on me, and so just because I can only preach about me, my life's journey, because my daughter was giving me a toast from one of my birthday parties,
Mm-hmm.
and she was saying, one thing I know about my dad is that no matter how hard he parties on Saturday, Sunday morning he says, okay, we got to go to church. Yes. So that's in my DNA. There's certain things in my DNA I can't escape, but that is one that, I lean on. But, as a parent, and it goes back, and I just love when you're talking about women and talking about, the abusiveness of our men in
Mm-hmm.
Jamaica. Some of our men, I shouldn't say some
Oh.
of our men,
Mm-hmm.
towards women and the neglect of their children. No matter what disabilities you may perceive that your child has, that child has a purpose because
Yes.
God does not make mistake. He gave
No.
you that child for a reason, and we are really going against God's wishes when we neglect the child that we are so blessed to have. You know,
Oh,
and
yes.
so
And so, Patrick, as we're coming down now, I'm going to give you two tasks. One, you're going to shout out to all who you want to shout out to this evening. Then, after you do your shout out, you're going to talk one last charge to parents who, just parents, every parent, because every parent, every child have their own challenges. It might not be physical, it might not be a disability, but every child come with their own brand of challenge because all child are different. And so, and especially in the time we're going through now, coping for some parents is really a challenge. So you're gonna do your shout out first, and then you're going to give us a parting encouragement to parents.
my shout out is short because if I call names,
No, not, not
having
call everybody because somebody going to vex if
I
they're leave
can
them.
fix it. But just in general, to the community of Falmouth that I
Mhm.
grew up in, I wish some of the guys who are there, and I say guys, I mean girls and ladies
Yes.
and gentlemen,
Hmm.
would kind of get back some of that ideal, not to that period where we, didn't have much, but just get back to that ideal where we become a community again. Because as a community of farmers, we have that community because last week we went to Houston, Texas, and surprised Ben Johnson's brother, who we haven't seen in 45 years. To this
Wow.
day, is still calling us and still crying because he never know. I told him my niece was coming to visit him to get the address of the church. I haven't seen him 45. So that's how close knit we are. And that continues. And I wish my people would do that. Selfishness, because guess what happened? I preached at one of my friends' funeral in Florida, Charles Rushing. And I told the guys that said, listen,
Mhm.
I've never seen a U-Haul going with all your belongings behind in a funeral
Yes.
procession. You understand? So nothing like that. So to all my brethren, I mean, much love, my family and all that stuff. Much love to Nelson and my sister and brother, 23 Queen Street and Neville and my sister in Duncansby and all those people. Not calling no name. But,
Yes.
you know, but the charge that I'd like to leave to parents
Yes.
is that I read a book in college, Frederick Frobel, who created kindergarten, made
Hmm.
this statement that lives with me also, like the 36 children that I learned. But the child is the father of the man.
Oh, yes.
What
I've
it
heard.
means is that how you treat a child coming up,
Hmm.
that is what the man or the woman is going to be. So you first of all, you got to love your children unconditionally. You
Right.
know, men, you got to step up and learn how to change diaper, learn how to do everything. Is nothing is woman. It's two people make that child. So
Right.
you have to learn to do everything equally with your children. Learn who teaches your children.
Right.
So because they got to know, because the more you go into the church, the school, and they see your face, especially in America, we figure we work 2, 3 jobs and we're busy. All the money we get, if our child don't get the right education, they won't. Your money will go for naught. You
Amen.
understand? The other thing is that live and make sure you teach your child.
Mm-hmm.
Go over everything that the child learns at your home, and
Yes.
make sure that the child sees that you are interested in what they're doing. And make the children see you reading a book. Now,
Yes.
now sit down every day and say, boy, all the child knows that the father, they drink beer and rum and play domino. You understand? And talk
Mm-hmm.
crap. I do it all. But you have to learn to know what your priority. Once you're blessed with a child, that should be your number one priority.
Amen.
And please, because we can make Jamaica better by getting more educated and more talented kids who are brought up in a home. A home, I mean, you have 20 bedroom
No, that's not
and
a home.
stuff.
That's a house.
You understand? You have to play them Luther Vandross. A house is not a home without no one there. You know.
Right.
So what we need to do, and I need my brothers, especially because those are kids, we got to look in the mirror.
Yes.
And I mean, beat up your chest when your child can run and your child and then don't teach them to be a professional athlete. I love track and field, used to do it, but guess what happened? You can look in Jamaica. How many doctors? I guarantee you there are more doctors than professional athletes in Jamaica, 10 times more. So
Mhm.
what's the chance of your child becoming a doctor? It's easier than becoming a track star or a footballer. So, get your priorities right for your children. And men, be men. Don't be man too, as we usually say.
As we say in Jamaica, yes, a
Yeah,
man too.
because a woman really, with due respect, especially the boys, cannot teach your boys to be men.
No.
And your example is gonna make them men. So I hope and pray. And I told a lot of people that when I come, I want to be engaged. I want to get in touch with the Epilepsy Foundation of Jamaica, just to
Yes.
give them a window, and even teachers to talk to them about how they recognize it and everything. And thanks be to God that you know St. Joseph's College did well for me in particular, because I get to meet the love of my life there. And, so and that, but also the values that I learned about children and about teaching children, I take that with me, and I hope God would bless you guys. It will be a rich blessing. I'm smiling ear to ear when I see all the shout outs from my son and everything. But
Yes.
it was worth it,
Yes.
and that's why
Yes.
I continue to serve others.
So, Patrick, it was good to have you on with us this evening. Say hello to Darnell for me and the rest of the family. We're looking forward to continuous conversation with you. We know you're not leaving us out at all, and you're always looking out for the well-being of
Yeah,
Trelawney and all of that.
yeah.
So,
And
thank you for
your
coming
book,
on this
your
evening.
book should be in Jamaica today, but I get shout out this one, shout out Councillor Garth Wilkinson. The book was supposed to be delivered to him. He's my
Yeah.
nephew, if you don't know.
Okay.
So make sure it's autographed by Darnell and everything. So he should have it, and he's listening. So he's gonna say,
I will
"So
make sure I collect my book from you,
yeah,
Sir
and
Wilkinson.
yeah, and thank you for your support. And I mean, you guys got me hooked from Desmond. When he had the thing about the statue business. so
Okay.
so I
Right. And we expect you to keep your dial locked to Fit FM 96.7. And I expect you to be on every Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. listening to Healing Moments.
yeah,
And,
because
and remind Daniel that he promised me the follow up interview. And
Okay.
so I'm looking forward to that. And any day you both land in Jamaica, you're welcome to come sit with me on Healing
I
Moments,
am
right?
looking forward to that.
Yes. So,
And then afterwards you have to go get some farmer people to give me some yellow heart roast breadfruit.
of course, I have a yellow heart breadfruit tree at my house. Don't
Oh,
worry
here
about that.
in fact,
So we
no,
might have to eat some on radio.
it's only farmer of the yellow heart.
That's not true. But I normally, even when I was living in Lucy, I normally say
Yeah,
the
Lucy.
breadfruit trees that grows along the
The, the,
coastal and have the sea breeze are awesome. They ripe, they roast quite easily. You can light fire under the tree and then roast on the tree.
yeah,
So I agree with you that I love coastal breadfruits. I
yeah.
really do.
What
Yes.
Falmouth Ochi and Falmouth Portland and Port Antonio and Hanover has
Yes,
the
yeah.
best one.
Hanover have some awesome breadfruits. I believe the best breadfruit are in Portland. Although I'm not
Ah,
from Portland, I really love Portland breadfruit, but we have good breadfruits otherwise. And have lived in Hanover for a while. I love Hanover breadfruit too,
yeah.
especially those along the coast. They're really, really good. We lived in Johnsontown, Lucy, and we had a breadfruit tree there. I tell you, man, the breadfruit, them gummy and nice. So I love my breadfruit too, and
Mhm.
I eat a lot of it, especially now because it is in season. So yes, when you come, we will sit down and eat breadfruit and
Yeah,
saltfish. Don't worry yourself.
and your co-hosts know that I probably might be coming sooner than you think.
Right. So
Trying to do a thing.
Julia is keeping very silent. She's allowing you to talk your own business.
I am not saying anything.
So thanks for joining us, Patrick.
Yeah,
What good,
and
stay
yeah,
blessed.
good evening to everybody, who's listening.
Yes, and
Thanks.
the love stays as the journey continues, right? And you
Exactly.
know, our love is like the guitar. We stop playing the music every now and then, but the strings remain. So stay
Exactly.
blessed and we walk good.
All
Alrighty.
right. Blessings.
Yes, so we're gonna play a little music for you guys, and then we transition into our affirmation. Yes, yes, yes. Welcome back to Healing Moments. I'm your host, as usual, Dr. Asha Mwendo on Healing Moments, and you're listening to us on Fit FM 96.7. And so, our affirmation this evening, I want to say to you I'm coming to you from Ecclesiastes 11, verse 4, and we're telling you, whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. So if you're going to sit around and wait for a time that is perfect weather, you will keep your seed in your hand and you will have no produce. So today, choose to live in the now. Stop waiting on the perfect time to do that which you're called to do. You start with what you have, where you are. Get help if you need it, but don't put off starting your journey to the greatest you ever. And as I say to you this evening from Second Chronicles 7, verse 14, as we go through a time of trial, I want to remind us the Good Shepherd said, if my people that are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. And if there was ever a time we need healing, it is now. So let us as a people turn to our divine creator and seek help for our own land. Forsake our sins, change our ways, become obedient to the laws of the land. And as I close, I'm saying to those of us who continue to fight against the regulations that are being set, you are putting us at risk. I want to say to you, to those of us who know that all the plans that we now have in place is foolishness, please come together. I will help you to write that proposal to the Prime Minister. Put your suggestions together. Let's put a paper together with your suggestions of how we can tackle this as a nation. So I don't have a problem with all those who have a problem with what is happening. No, I have a problem with those who have a problem without any suggestion of solutions. So for me, if you don't have a solution, get one. Talk to somebody. Put a plan in place. Let's come together to heal this nation that God has blessed us with. Jamaica is not just a nation for reggae music and athletes. We can be a nation that is known because we are a godly people. So let's come together and change the focus. There are some of us who are really praying, and really praying. And I believe that's why we are still afloat in this country, because of those who pray. Let us all come together and pray. To my listeners, wherever you are this evening, in all the countries across the world, I say thank you for tuning into Healing Moments. To all my listeners here in Jamaica, thank you for listening to Healing Moments. Those who are online on YouTube and all the other platforms, thank you for tuning in. And to those who took some time out to put a little note, Miss Lash, Miss Claudia, thank you for being with us this evening. There's another gentleman I want to. We got Mr. Patrick Cross. Thank you for tuning in this evening and putting in a note. The others who just listened but didn't say anything, thank you for being a part of our program. And to Mr. Garth Wilkinson, I await my book. Good evening, friends. Walk good is goodbye from Healing Moments this evening. And join me next week, same time, same place, on Fit FM 96.7, Healing Moments. I am your host, Dr. Asha Mwendo. Walk good till next time.